All right, we live. Come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. Let's talk about it. It is the day before the game. It is official. We've been waiting on this all year long. It seemed like this thing dragged out, but look, we are officially here. We got a couple of special guests that's with us. Shout out to LBC, shout out to Jaywalk, and we got one more. Tim Prangley will be coming on. Jaywalk, what's the word? Rick, what's the word?
Man. You see, hey, I see you fellas got your shades on. You dig?
Absolutely.
Hey,
Absolutely.
is that because the future for the USC program is looking so extraordinarily bright?
Absolutely.
Man, the lights are shining bright for the Trojans, man. I am so excited. My thing's so bright, you can see my ring light glaring off that thing.
I want everybody to look at Jaywalk. He's rocking the roses.
He got the roses tonight, man. Hey, look, and that's not because we're playing in the Rose Bowl. That's because, well, we might play in the Rose Bowl because that's part of a playoff game.
The Rose Bowl is the semifinals. So
absolutely,
we got to get there before we get to the Natty. So I believe that if once we take care of business, they're gonna honor USC's history of playing in the Rose Bowl. So even if we're the number one team in the country going in at that time, I believe just for his history's sake, the committee would put us in the Rose Bowl, whoever the other seed is, and then we battle it out in the semifinals to get to the national championship game.
One second. I forgot. This slipped my mind just now. These guys are on the bus. They're right into the game, and I know they're getting ready to be locked. They're gonna have to put their phones away. Shout out to Lock High football team. Football team. Look. Shout out to you. I know you guys are playing Dominguez tonight. Look, you guys stay focused. Just stay locked in. Keith is my man. Keith played linebacker at USC. Listen to him. Look, be assignment driven tonight. Be focused. Keep your head on the swivel. And look, it's straight up go time. It's on and popping, on and cracking. USCJ is supporting you guys tonight.
Hey, let's go. We stand with you guys. Go get it
done. Fight on, Locke. Fight on.
Hey, bring it home. Bring it home, Locke. Let's go, fellas. Y'all know
Rick,
what it is.
Rick, what's the word?
Oh, man, this is a merry BMW USC football Christmas Eve, baby. One more day. I mean, like Jaywalk said, the shades are on. I am all jacked up. Hey, it's an honor for me to be on your show. I love you, USCJ and Jaywalk.
Likewise,
we love you.
I mean, what you just did right now, USCJ, giving a little pep talk to the Lock football team. You work 24/7, and your passion and love for USC, man, is respected. I get up early, and you're already dropping a vid. I'm having my cup of coffee, and I'm enjoying your content, man. So thank you. And hey, Jaywalk, man, you played in those games. I was at those games as a season ticket holder for 20 years. And, dude, we're simpatico, man. I felt it, but you were on the inside. So such an honor to be on the show with you because a lot of parallels from those Pete Carroll days to what we're seeing here in Lincoln Riley. We haven't had as much excitement for a season since then. So this is awesome.
Yeah, this is a remarkable time. And I appreciate the sentiment. It's reciprocated. Trojan Nation, everybody across the country, viewers, followers, haters, indifferent folks, everybody in between. Welcome to the show. The Trojans are about to get live again. You guys have no idea what this thing is like when we put it in a blender and we get to spinning and we steady winning. And man, it's about to be something you guys haven't experienced in a lifetime. For those of you who are young, and for those of you who can remember, get ready to taste that flavor again because it's oh so sweet.
Well, I'll tell you what, if this week was any precursor to what's in store, I've never seen this happen before. USC is acting like USC again. That shirt that you're wearing, Jaywalk, is appropriate because look what just happened this week. I mean, Jen Cohen getting named as AD.
Boom.
Next day, Lincoln Riley says, "Oh, okay, you got the number one AD of the transfer portal, not to be one up. Well, one up." He goes and gets the number one quarterback in the class of 2026, Juju Lewis from Carrollton High School in Georgia.
Boom.
And then Wednesday we get the Reggie Bush press conference up on three.
Click, boom.
Yeah. And then this morning with the, we'll get into it, but what? USC signs a deal with DirecTV. It's like, oh wow.
Man, we've had so many things that happen this week, and I've hadn't really had an opportunity. I wanted to bring Jaywalk on specifically dealing with the Reggie Bush thing. He played with Reggie Bush. When Jaywalk was on my show last year, when he first came on, he talked about Reggie Bush, and he talked about, and Jaywalk, you could kind of talk about this. You talked about how Reggie Bush, you were with him, man. You guys used to cook the meals in the apartment, and just how you guys, how some things were a struggle, and you kind of alluded to that, man. So your thoughts, man, just real quickly, before we get into this preview, your thoughts on what Reggie Bush, being that he was your ex-teammate, the fact that everything took place this week, man. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, this has been, it's been painful to feel this for all these years. It's been painful to know the truth, first of all, to respect Reggie's privacy of him saying, guys, I got it. I'm going to take care of it. God is not going to allow this to fly. And what's done, what the enemy presents for evil, God can make for good.
Absolutely.
And he has been the epitome of no weapon formed against me shall prosper. And he can do all things through the Lord who's given him his strength. And Reggie has always been a man of faith. He's always been faith driven. So much so that he was so faithful and trusting of the process, the due diligence of law and order, that he literally gave his trophy back and said, I know that I'm doing the right thing because you're going to return it to me and do the right thing. Because none of this is founded. None of these accusations can be substantiated. None of these things that you guys are saying have any merit. And I have no problem with saying, sure, I'm always going to do the right thing. And the thing about Reggie is the Bible says you know a tree by its fruit and you know a zebra by its stripes. Whenever people have a problematic personality or they just have that type of divisive or selfish energy, there's never, if not rarely, just one incident where they were that way. It's usually a continual stream that matriculates throughout their life. There's always more. There's always more to unpack. There's always more evidence that this person was that poor character that we observed. Outside of these heinous, egregious, boldly fictitious allegations, you've never heard one negative comment about Reggie Bush. Outside of the things that have been fabricated and pushed against him by the NCAA and the stupidity of the people who have been trying to con his family for all these years. If Reggie was that character guy, I promise you, you would be seeing these breadcrumbs throughout his whole career. You would be seeing more things like this of his nature, of his character, because that's just who he is. If you take an orange and you squeeze it, orange juice is going to come out because that's what's inside of it. You can't squeeze something and put pressure on something without what's inside falling out. So Reggie has been squeezed this entire time, squeezed by the pressure of knowing that he's living under a lie, squeezed by the slander and defamation of his name and his character and his legend. And the only thing that has come out of that dude has been integrity, fortitude, perseverance. He's not lied. He's not done anything that we can frown upon outside of try his best in all things and speak his truth consistently. And his story has never changed. There's been no deviation in his story. That's because it's honest. Now you look at the NCAA, their story does this. Why? Because it's all fabricated and they're looking and grabbing for straws that don't exist. So I'm so happy. I'm so proud for him to be at the beginning of the precipice of being redeemed through this whole thing. Shame on everybody for trying to throw this kid under the bus the way that they did when he was a kid. And now he's a man and has done everything the right way, from his media persona, from how he handles his family life, from how he handled his career as a pro, how he mentors youth, how he gives back to his community. Everything he does is top shelf. That's because that's who he is. When you squeeze something, what is inside of that thing comes out of it. Reggie has squeezed out nothing but love, nothing but perseverance and diligence. And I salute Reggie. I salute you, and you know me. You know me. You know how much I adore you, bro, as a brother. You know how much I battled you in training and practice, and it was my goal to beat you every day. And I saw you be a man of integrity this whole way. Congratulations. I'm so glad that you got the team of people representing you. I'm so glad that the country is now starting to understand. And guess what? I'm so glad that the media who try to propagate all these negative things, they have nothing to say. I hear crickets. Crickets. These people who are casting all these stones, they can't say nothing now. They're eating crow for sure. Fight
absolutely,
on.
absolutely. Rick, your thoughts on that? Anything you had to say on that?
Hey man, what can I say? Jaywalk explained it perfectly. Let's just say my explanation wouldn't be included in the Bible. That's how I feel, and I'm a fan. Yeah. I'm just because we know, and it hurt. It's painful because the rest of the country hides behind the lies because they hate USC. They call him Pete the Cheat, and that's disrespectful. And I'm sure you've heard that, Jaywalk. That's going to hurt.
20
but
times.
I'm sorry, but there was no connection ever on an email, anything that implicated Pete Carroll. So they had to go. There's nothing that implicated Reggie Bush, right? So they had to go after Todd McNair, and they tried to pin it on Todd McNair. And God bless that man. I don't know how he fought for 10 years the way he did, but he did. And I'm glad that he did. He defines fight on. And when he won that $8 million settlement, when the NCAA settled on court on July 26, 2021, I remember that day by heart. That's how much passion I have for disliking the NCAA and their other partners that were, let's say, maybe influenced to bring USC down. I'm looking at you, NCAA and SEC, yeah, and ESPN.
Absolutely.
let's look how everything in life comes full circle.
Right.
The anniversary of Todd McNair, one of my favorite coaches in life. He was our running back coach. He was a special teams coach. But more than that, he was a dude that helped bring up young men. He helped us figure it out.
Yep.
You understand how tough it was to play at USC with that level of duress, pressure, the academic workload, the execution workload, just everything that it was to be a Trojan at that time, plus making good decisions and using discernment over how we handled our relationships, how we handled ourselves with class and integrity and dignity. He was a pillar for that. And so all these years now, to the day, the anniversary of him winning his lawsuit, that he had to suffer in silence while his name was being dragged through the freaking quicksand, the sludge, and no one would hire him as a prolific coach as he was because he had this black stain on his name. Tomorrow is the anniversary. Tomorrow is kickoff. Tomorrow is the anniversary of that man getting paid, and all of this lawsuit crap, this suit that they have, these claims against Reggie, they all get debunked on the anniversary of our season opener.
That's a great point. Absolutely.
You know, you mentioned the Bible. You know, it talks about reaping and sowing. You reap what you sow. So the same seeds that you sowed, it's gonna come back around, man. So we're seeing it come back around full circle, man. Some of the things, and it's gonna come back to bite the NCAA. I promise you that. And I think I've seen a comment in here that said, if I was the NCAA, I would go ahead and let it just, relinquish all whatever you're trying to keep. You know, I mean, you better just give it up. Come out wherever you are, because you know what? You got Benjamin Crump in there right now. Once that guy gets involved, you might be lost in Alfredo. So.
hey, you know what? Hey, I know we quoting the word today, but the Bible also says pride comes before the fall.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you, Jaywalk, you just brought up a great point. You're talking about the 2003 season where you played in that game kicking off at Auburn. And to end the 2002 season, the country was put on notice when USC thrashed Iowa in the in the Orange Bowl, 38-17. Carson Palmer. People were disparaging Carson Palmer, that he shouldn't have won the Heisman. It should have been Brad Banks. And we just rocked it. You guys rocked it that day. And, man, that day was great to be a Trojan. But rolling into that little town of Auburn, Alabama.
Oh, my God.
and I rolled in with 6 Trojans and Auburn Bob. He was our host. We had a black limo with 2 USC flags on the side, and we were rolling, man. And I told one guy, I want you to remember 3 letters. And he's, what's that? This was an Auburn fan as we were going into the stadium. I said, BMW. What's that? Go, Big Mike Williams. And that's right. Matt Leiner's first touchdown goes to BMW. The train started rolling. That was the day that the whole country was put on notice in front of Vern Lundquist and Todd Blackledge on CBS Sports.
Oh, yeah.
We're back, baby. This is happening right now.
That's amazing.
Yep.
And they had a Cadillac.
Yeah.
But we had a BMW. Hey, and I'm gonna tell you, our engine was hitting a little bit harder because, we went 24-0 real quick, and we don't have them boys to open up our season. That was our national championship campaign, and man, we definitely didn't look back. But there's an inside story. Those guys did some really foul and heinous things before that kickoff. While we were in a tunnel, there's a little bridge right before we take the field, and they had fans who were standing above this bridge, and we're all corralled in this tiny little area that's no bigger than 5 yards wide by maybe 8 to 10 yards deep, and they got us locked in before they allow us to take the field. Now, I'm going to tell you, there were fans up there with solo cups, those red cups of chewing tobacco and dip. They were spitting their dip inside of it. They were pouring beer on our heads. They were dumping these sunflower seed husks on top of us. They were spitting actual loogies of phlegm on top of us. One of my teammates, thank God it wasn't me, said he felt like there was some urine that came on him from one of those cups. Now, I don't know if that was true or not because that didn't happen to me. But I'm telling you what, when we looked up, they dumped over all this stuff on our heads. And about 2 or 3 minutes later, they finally let us take the field. We took it personal. We took it personal. Coach Carroll said, handle it on the field.
Oh.
Show them. And so we did.
J-Walk, the fact that, and I remember them pumping up Ronnie Brown, Cadillac Williams, and
they were amazing.
Campbell.
They're amazing.
I love them. They were those are 2 of my favorite running backs, and but they were pumping them up, and I remember that they just thought USC was going to get torn apart.
Yep.
So with that being said, with you guys going in there, going to Auburn, beating up Auburn like that, what do you see as far as because here we are now. The season is getting ready to approach. It's really about to be go time. I mean, you see a team and prior I think the team went 6-6 the year prior.
That's right.
Yeah, 6-6 the year prior. But we've had more success last year, going 11 and 11 wins. So where are we at? And Rick, I want you to answer this too. Where you guys think we at to starting tomorrow with the Trojans getting ready to hit the field against San Jose State? Is this? I don't know why this hit me like this. I thought about we're starting. I didn't feel this way last year, but I feel like we're starting a dynasty. I don't know. That's just the way it hit my mind today. I said the dynasty is getting ready to start. I just think that's the momentum we have. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Rick?
No, J-Walk, go ahead, man.
So, with all due respect, big bro, the dynasty started last year.
Absolutely.
It started last season with us doubling our wins from the year before, with us being a torn hamstring away from our first college playoff, with us bringing back another Heisman Trophy winner. You see, the Heisman Trophy is synonymous with dynastic qualities. Nobody thought we were a dynasty when Carson won the Heisman.
Absolutely.
But we were. And hindsight is the greatest gift of all, because now looking back, that season where we beat Iowa in the Orange Bowl, no one would have said we had a dynastic precipice about us. No one, there was no media that said that. Matter of fact, everyone thought we were going to struggle because we lost our Heisman winning quarterback. But the truth is that type of energy is infectious and it is contagious. So just like Carson, when Carson won back when he won the Heisman, that was the beginning of our dynasty. Just like last year, where Caleb won the Heisman, that was also the beginning of our dynasty.
Absolutely.
Because it brings in and it plants the seeds of all of the excitement and the what ifs that the younger generation need to have this so they can broadcast their great future as a Trojan. It starts with that Heisman being cemented, and that legacy is forever. And guess what? We lost 2 games that year. Carson won the Heisman. Very similarly structured to this past season.
Right.
We lost 3 games, right? I don't think we should have actually even had to play in the Pac-12 championship, in my opinion. We should have jumped over that and stayed straight in the college playoff because we were already ranked number 4. That game, being forced to play that game, created more damage than it did good. Not because we lost, but because we got injured. And then it gave teams that didn't have to play an opportunity to rest and watch us and game plan. And it gave Tulane another game of film. It gave everyone more arsenal to defeat us later if needed be. So I digress because we're on this season now. But the truth is the dynasty started last year with our Heisman. The dynasty started with us having record-breaking seasons. And there was many offensive records broken and many defensive records broken that aren't spoken about with regards to the turnover ratio and some of our other defensive efficiency. So the dynasty has begun. Now we just have to walk the strides that we've laid out.
Absolutely. Rick?
Yeah, I very well put. And Jaywalk, you're playing at that time. The difference between that USC and this USC is night and day. And I say that because of what just happened this week. This is the first time I've ever seen the university aligned, from board of trustees to the president to the provost to the athletic department liaison with the athletic department and the academic department, and then you have the head coach, and then all these great plans for these new facilities with the football facility, the women's soccer and lacrosse stadium, Dado Field. Carol Folk, I don't know what her middle name is, but I bet you it starts with a G because she's a G. She's also the chairperson for the AAU, the Academic Association of Universities. She's got power, and she's very calculated. So the first day of class for this year, she has a press conference introducing the AD. And if you saw at that press conference how many people they had speaking, that was a USC commercial. Okay, you had the board of trustees speaking, you had Carol Folk, you had the provost, you had the athletic and academic liaison, and then you had Jen Cohen. She was sending a message out that we are back. She was sending it to the NCAA. She was sending it to the college football world and to the Big Ten and all the universities out there, that there's a new sheriff in town and we're doing it the right way. We're fully aligned, we're transparent, and we're coming to kick your rear end. Okay? Because then Lincoln Riley gets the number 1 quarterback, and then Reggie Bush's press conference on top of the Coliseum, that's supported by USC, I would think, right? Absolutely. Again, with the pictures of 2 places left for number 5 and number 13. She's letting everybody know. And then DirecTV does a deal today with USC, something Larry, now I don't know all the official details, but Larry Scott couldn't get a deal done with DirecTV, and it took him 11 years. That shows you the power of USC. We're ready to kick butt. We're fully aligned. So, as you said, Jaywalk, the next year we lost 2 close games, but the offense had to come together. 3 of those first 5 games in that 2002 season, the second year, were on the road against ranked teams.
That's right.
This year, the defense is in question, right? That's the one everybody's looking at. The offense is on fire, but we have 6 manageable games, of which I believe 2 are on the road, and we have a bye week. So the last 6 games, hopefully the last 9 games, because we want to play 15 according to Caleb, right? We're going to have time to gel. And I think if we look, we're going to do that. USCJ, we're going to look at the 2 deep roster.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of oars on that roster, which tells me there's a lot of competition that's happening, that has happened in spring and fall, and will continue to happen in the next few weeks to see who's going to be the most consistent. That's another word that Lincoln Riley's using. When he described a few of the players, they were being consistent. So that's what the standard is. I think they have a mantra. They have a mantra is that the longer we play, the better we get.
That's right. The longer it goes, the better we get. The longer it goes, the better we get. And you just spoke to something really important. And you named 3 of the 4 C's that's required for a championship run that equals the 5th C. So competition breeds competence, where you understand what you're doing. Competition brings competence, which brings confidence, which brings the collectiveness of the team, and that equals a championship.
Yes.
So you just named those very strong cornerstones that allows for the team to come together the right way. And our depth is extraordinary. I mean, we have an extraordinary amount of depth that is, I am very comfortable with everybody 2 deep, 100%. Everybody 2 deep. We would have begged for some of our second and third stringers to be our starters last year.
Absolutely. But J-Walk, let's stay on that, because I credit you for something you said last Friday. We were on here and we were talking about people were asking us about the depth, and you were kind of talking about how different packages. You want to talk about that? How different packages for different players going to be in? Because I think a lot of people lost in the sauce with the roster right now, and some of this it was some surprises on the roster, man. I mean, everybody wasn't expecting it to be the way it is. And let me say this. Yeah. Forgive me. Monday, yesterday, I talked about the roster. I forgot about Michael Jackson having a small injury. So yes. Because I was outraged. I was wondering why he wasn't. So Michael Jackson, he had an injury, and but he will be back up. He will be back in business. But talk about
I was fussing too. I was fussing. No.
I couldn't understand it.
Somebody came out with a graphic as well. One of these sites came out with a graphic about all of the receivers, and they had USC ranked as the number 2 receiver.
Yeah, I've seen that today. I didn't even.
They didn't put Mike Jack on there.
I'm not even gonna post that. I usually post that stuff. I'm not even posting that. It's crazy.
Just that alone lets me recognize the ignorance of a lot of the people who are broadcasting how really talented we are. They don't understand, but that's fine, and I like that. I like that. Ignorance is bliss. They can be ignorant, would allow us to be blissful as we kick their tails. So I feel great about that. But what I believe that this coaching staff is going to do, now I can't say it's a guarantee, but I'm lightly tapped in with what's happening, not on a massive scale, but enough to feel confident. Our goal is to make certain that we don't wear anyone out. And we have specific packages and rotations of players that allow for different looks. That's why now we have defensive and offensive analysts. Whereas last season, we didn't have that. We had coaches. We have analysts now who are there to actually game plan and script certain players in certain formations during certain times and situations in the game. When you can teach a player their specific package and where their unique thumbprint is going to be impactful, that's when you get that player to play free, to play reckless, and completely confident enough to really unleash all of their skills and their attributes. Very similarly to Corey Foreman's package in the UCLA game last year, where he said, this was for me. We drilled it 40, 50 times in practice that week. I knew that I was supposed to buzz and then flash underneath that curl, and that was the game-winning interception that was a scripted defensive package for that individual player. Imagine that now times 20 throughout the course of a season, where you can script guys into the role that they're specifically supposed to be there for. Amazing, amazing ability to cut a guy free, take the shackles off, and let him go and do what he's programmed to do. Our guys are machine heads, and they're programmed to destroy and win.
Yeah, and that's a great point, J-Rod, because this year they brought in Greg Brown. He's a defensive analyst, veteran guy. They brought in Booker Radley-Hiles and Coach BAW, Bryce Now.
Shout out Coach Buki.
Yep. So they had three guys. They're going to help the defense. And, oh, yeah, Cliff Kingsbury came 4 days before they played the spring game.
I've been trying to keep him a secret. I haven't been even saying his name. I want folks to forget about him.
We don't have to talk about the offense, right?
Yes, sir.
Here's a good example, and I think, Jay Walker, you can talk about the importance because you were there. But that first year, the defense in Pete Carroll's first year in 2001, the defense carried the team. They were ranked 9th at the end of the year.
Yeah.
We didn't really have a running game that year. We had players that got hurt, Malifo. We also had Sultan McCullough got hurt. So they had to convert Sonny Bird, a halfback, to running back. And even though they had Norm Chow as the offensive coordinator, Norm Chow was also the quarterback coach. Next year in 2002, they bring on a quarterback coach by the name of Steve Sarkisian.
Easy, Coach Sark.
Did Coach Sark have an effect that year on Carson Palmer and gave Norm Chow a little bit more time to actually?
Nah, he didn't do nothing. Sark sat on his butt. He didn't teach anything. He didn't show anyone anything. He didn't help our secondary at all. Okay. He didn't do anything. You know why?
Why?
Come on, bro.
What?
He was lazy, Coach Sark was. I'm lying through my front teeth.
Okay.
What Sark did was he created a Heisman Trophy winner.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Sark brought in when they brought Sark in, Carson understood the game at a nuclear and molecular level.
Okay.
So then he was ready to combust. And all of those gifts that we all saw that Carson was capable of finally manifested. And when I say Sark helped the secondary, when you're playing against a quarterback that's laser sharp that way, it prepares you for what you're going to see on Saturday. And so I, as a defensive back, can remember the difference between trying to stop Carson my first year versus that year he won the Heisman. Those balls, those tight windows, the timing, the delivery was so much more elite. And it just helped us as a secondary play more sound. There were no more 50-50 balls. These things were so accurate. It forced us to play tight coverage, which then translated into us having an even more superior defense the next year, and then ultimately winning a national championship. All of that stuff correlates, and it comes from having analysts and coaches and specific guys who can put people in prime position to be successful. That's what a true coach can do for a team and for an athlete. And that's why players start to bond and build these really remarkable relationships with the leaders in their lives, because the interest is shared. That coach can't be their best version without an athlete who's willing and capable to take in their information and apply it. That athlete can never reach their full potential without the love and the encouragement and the wisdom and the tutelage and the guidance and the nurturing of a really talented, skillful coach who's meticulous about helping them be their best self. Now we have it. Watch out, country. Watch out.
Absolutely, man. Because everybody got lost in the sauce. And the first thing I seen a couple of days ago when this roster came out, Fire Grinch. And I'm just thinking, like, are you serious? And I think that, it really speaks to some don't really have the football IQ and understand the aspect of what these coaches are trying to do, alluded to the analysts. And, for example, you look at a guy like, looking at this roster, you look at Jack Sullivan, he'll be playing defensive tackle. Most people thought it was going to be Bear Alexander next to Keon Barnes. Everybody said, well, but to your point, you want to have the right mixes and matches in there. You want to have 1, 2, and 3 depth deep wise, so that we can sustain and maintain throughout the season, because that was the problem last year, and it started in Utah. These guys is literally start. We held teams. Remember you and me, Jaywalk, we were talking about we were holding teams under 19 points, 20 points. But then all of a sudden things just began to deteriorate. And as a result, it just started, really going down, man. So you see this roster. What are you guys' initial thoughts? I know, Jaywalk, you had insight on it because we kind of talked about that. You kind of alluded to that actually last week that, we could see things like this. So, Rick, when you seen this roster, man, what were your thoughts? I don't know if you have it in front of you, but if you took a peek at it.
So the thing that stood out to me first was the number of oars. Like for instance, looking at the defense, rush end, Anthony Lucas or Jamil Muhammad or Braylon Shelby. So it tells me there's 2 oars. I went through the whole thing. There's 11 oars.
Right.
This is at the top of the show, which means there's a lot of competition out there. And you just take a look at the rush end. You got Anthony Lucas, Jamil Muhammad, and Braylon Shelby. Braylon Shelby is a freshman.
There's a
lot of good news about him coming out of camp, his athleticism, his size. Can't believe he's a freshman. So this speaks to the depth that we have. And when you have that across the board on both sides of the ball, I mean, come on, Kyron Hudson, if you haven't seen Lincoln Riley's interview, he is the MVP. He says he's the MVP of fall camp. He used the word consistency 2 or 3 times in the interview. So nobody had an idea of that. In fact, there were some of those probably best wide receiver rooms, and I think one of them didn't even have Kyron Ware-Hudson on it. And so it's him. He's one of the wide receivers or Brendan Rice. That is pretty crazy.
It is crazy being that the way that Brendan Rice finished out the season last year with that Tulane game. He looked so fast. He even looked fast and explosive during the spring game. It looked like he picked up where he left off. So we see that on the defensive side. And what about the safety? We see they have, I told everybody that the safety, Caleb Bullock is a lot. But the safety position, I wasn't for sure how this thing is going to work out, but it looks like Max Williams is going to be the starter coming into tomorrow. And it's still probably going to be competition. Zion Branch is, he's right underneath those guys, him and Bryson Shaw. So what about the safety position? Are you guys surprised? I mean, I thought Christian Roland Wallace was going to be in there at one of the corners, but we see Damani in there. I thought he would be in. I thought it would be Christian Roland Wallace and maybe Damani or Jacoby Covington. But we see Wright, he's in there. So, and then Jaden Williams, he gets an opportunity. Jalen, did I say Jalen Williams?
Yeah, Jalen.
Yeah, he gets an opportunity to play the nickelback. So, what do you guys' thoughts on that?
You mean Jalen Smith?
Jalen Smith. I said Jalen Williams. Yeah. Jalen Smith. I'm getting mixed up.
No, it's okay.
So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I'll defer to the defensive back in the room.
So personally, I did used to love Max at safety. I thought he was a good, strong safety. He wasn't the biggest, but he did come down and he made good disruptive plays when we needed him. So when they had to bring him down to play like in the box more, I didn't think that was the best way to use him because he's not the biggest guy. Now, stature-wise, he's not much shorter than Troy Polamalu, right? He doesn't have the same instincts as Troy, but he's intelligent. And now being a super senior or a senior, I think this is his 5th year, right? Because he medically redshirted 1, I believe. I can't recall, but he's old enough and he's a veteran now. He can put guys in the right position. I believe that it behooves us to have a person that knows the game, the field, as much as him behind a younger guy like Taggett to remind him where his cues are. Hey, right here, this is where your eyes should be. Because I also had to play somewhat of this type of position last season as a hybrid player, right, in certain packages. So it doesn't matter who they put in the secondary. All of the guys can cover. All of the guys can play. But I know you're going to get a heavy dose of Jacoby. You're going to get a heavy dose of Christian Roland Wallace. You're going to get Shaw because he's also intelligent and can make good plays. Of course, Kalen he's handcuffed his position. But the rotation, the strength comes in the rotation and the fact that you can't just scheme against one guy. Certain receivers have certain DBs numbers. It just is how it works. There are players that just will always beat another type of player. It's evident that certain DBs, they just have the type of game that disrupts a certain type of receiver. So the fact that these wideouts that we will cover will think that they can pinpoint a weakness in one of our secondary guys, it just will be debunked by the fact that we can just plug and play another player that has different instincts, different skill sets, and approaches the game in a different manner, but still plays within the confines of the scheme. This is a beautiful thing. Utah was the beginning of the end of our season, not because we lost the game, but because of the factors that went into how we lost the game. We're beating them by 2 touchdowns. We get an interception in the end zone that gets called back for whatever reason. A cheap roughing the passer call that is the most phantom penalty I've ever seen. So that eliminates those points that we kept them from getting. So they have the points now. Now we're pressing. And at some point in that game, we make another big play on the quarterback to get on a third and out. It's a roughing the passer call out of nowhere. Again, extending Utah's offensive drive. The extension of those plays, the emotional ups and downs of those plays, forces younger players who are trying to prove themselves to strain more. It forces them to believe they got to do a little bit more. Because in that game, it wasn't the fact that it was so physical. It wasn't physical until the refs got involved. We were beating that butt. It became physical because they allowed for one team to play more aggressive than the other. That's why it was physical. Every time we bumped Dalton Kincaid, they called pass interference. Meanwhile, he's stiff-arming and headbutting dudes off the line of scrimmage and booking. Look, it was what it was. But the fact that when you have players who are straining and now feeling like they have to overcompensate, overstretching for plays, instead of going out of bounds, taking the extra couple yards, guys sprinting out of their position to try to make an extraordinary play because of the factors that they were overcoming. That's when you get injuries. That's when we lost Jordan Addison. We lost our Shane Lee. We lost Lyman. We lost multiple players. Mario Williams. Everybody that we were leaning on got hurt that game, including Eric Gentry, because of the fact of the officiating forced guys to feel like they had to play more than they should have. Now, without that, those guys stay healthy and we continue to tear up the conference. All right. Those injuries were the beginning of our depth issues. Yep. Now, when we get those injuries, they are inevitable. Now we got guys that we can plug and play that we have no drop off of. That is something that this country is not taking into account.
Absolutely. Rick, anything you want to say on that?
I like the idea of putting Jalen Smith at the nickel, and maybe we'll see Christian Roland Wallace at the nickel as well. But I like Max at the safety for those reasons that Jaywalk outlined. And the depth is there. You're going to have a Zion Branch is going to be available. Damani Jackson obviously is penciled in as a starter. Sierra Wright doesn't get a lot of run, but you know what? He picked up the defense last year. He's obviously showing trust and consistency with the coaching staff. So look out for Sierra Wright. I think underappreciated, undervalued, but the coaching staff likes the consistency because there's a lot of guys that could be in that position. Like you mentioned, Christian Roland Wallace, 4-year starter at Arizona, but Sierra Wright, he keeps his spot for right now. But this is a great situation to be in with the depth that we have. And, you know, I think part of it too is Max is a little undersized at the nickel. And now you got to give teams that are heavy on the tight end, like Utah, something else to game plan for.
Correct.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, and then not to mention, I didn't even see Fagan's name on there as well. It was a couple of guys. I didn't see Green. I didn't see Fagan's name on the depth chart. But we know those guys are still battling out. But I think they can only put three deep on there. Printed on there. So. But you got multiple guys, but I think I'm not going to say this is the biggest surprise for me because I've seen flashes of this guy last year in the Arizona State game and the Stanford game, and that's Solomon Byrd.
Yes.
I've seen him. I remember him playing in Stanford, and he showed flashes like he can be great. However, I don't know what happened last year as far as why he didn't get more snaps after those couple of games, man. What are you guys' thoughts? They moved in the defensive end. I thought he was going to be at rush end, but, I think those two positions are going to be interchangeable. They're going to do a couple of things with those. So what are your thoughts on Solomon Byrd?
He understands the defense more. he gets it. He knows how his skill set fits into this scheme, and now the coaches understand his athleticism and know how to use him more tactfully.
Absolutely. Rick, any thoughts on Solomon Byrd? Are you surprised? I'm not surprised, but are you surprised?
He showed flashes, and I'm sure that Solomon Byrd saw everybody that was coming through the transfer portal, and just speculation, he made a conscious effort to say, hey, look, why not me? I think he had said something that he tweeted something about the long road. And I sent something back saying it's not where you start, it's where you finish.
Right.
So he's got that mentality. He's like, okay, well, you brought these guys in. That's great. It's competition. He's going to show out.
That's
so
right.
In spring camp, summer program, and fall camp, he's had his chance. Either you're going to shrink back and be just another number, or you're going to stand out. And a lot of that comes from here and here. Not everybody has that. He does.
Absolutely. And he had 4 sacks this fall camp, man, in the scrimmage. He went absolutely crazy. So we talked about the roster. Now, I want to know from you guys, man, if you guys can give me a couple of breakout players. We've been 46 minutes. I don't know where this time went. This is crazy. Breakout players, man, on the offense and defense from you guys, man. I got mine, and I'll just tell you that mine are all freshmen. But I'm just going to give you guys a hint. I'm not going to tell it to you, but mine are all freshmen, man. What do you got, Rick? Rick, starting with you, if you can give me just a couple of breakout players as we get ready to enter this season.
Okay. Did you say freshman breakout players or just breakout players?
Let me put some rules, lay some rules down real quick.
Okay.
It's too easy to name Zach Branch and the obvious and Tackett Curtis. So let me lay the rules down real quick. Because everybody, Captain America has already been, he's essentially been established already as Captain America, man. And Zach Branch, I think that he's been established as well. I mean, everybody, we've seen flashes of both of those guys in the spring. So I got to make it a little bit difficult for you guys, man.
Those weren't mine anyway.
So you want one on offense and one on defense?
Yeah, just one on offense, one on defense.
Freshman or anybody?
Well, whatever. Freshman, right. Sophomore, whatever.
You guys are going to laugh at this, but
no, I bet I won't.
I'll give you my defensive one first, and then I'll go offense.
All right.
I'll say defense is there's a couple guys here. Freshman, right?
No, whichever you think.
Okay, yeah. You know what? This is. Yeah.
I had a very difficult time with this.
I can go. I'm ready to shoot.
I'll go. I got Mason Cobb. Mason Cobb is the quarterback of the defense. Yes. Without a doubt. He's bringing the heartbeat. He's bringing the swag. I've said this before. Jaywalk, we've had conversations on the phone. He reminds me of Justin Fargas. Fargas, like you told me, had the swag in that locker room. I'll give you my offensive breakout player of the year, and you might laugh. It's going to be Caleb Williams. And here's why. Here's why. He said he was already looking ahead to this year at that Heisman Trophy ceremony because we were not in the college playoff. He was at the Super Bowl on TV Row, and I believe he had an interview with Nick Wright, and he basically laid it out. He wants to pass for 5,000 yards, 60 TDs, and he doesn't want to throw any interceptions. I think he was looking at like a 70% completion rate, and he didn't back off that. I mean, for you to go on Media Row and say that Super Bowl week, you knew darn well what you're saying. And then for him at the spring game, Coach Riley said to in the media after the spring game, he came out and said about Caleb, he needs to get coached a lot better at a lot of things. I think that's the good answer. I think consistency in situations, kind of situation mastery. He did some really good things in the last year. But there are some things that we would want back. There's learning the position, learning the offense, learning the routes, learning how to execute, and then you take it. And the game situation can change. A lot of that. You have to be able to process because the situation can change from down to down. We've really worked hard on that. It was good last year. It needs to be great this year. Those are the words of somebody as Coach Riley is raising the bar for Caleb Williams. And I believe he's going to hit those numbers. And so that's why he's my breakout player.
I like it.
Absolutely. Jay Wall.
Okay.
I agree with that, by the way.
Yeah.
Hey, he brought in Cliff Kingsbury as well, right?
Correct.
Right.
And because Lincoln Riley said back at the spring game, he needs to be coached better. 4 days earlier, they hired Cliff Kingsbury. Lincoln Riley is very calculated. He's very cerebral. He's different, and he's got a plan. We don't know any of it. I mean, look at we think we know, but we don't know about the practices and things, because the media really only gets limited 20, 25 minutes of access a few times.
Pre-game, pre-practice. Yeah.
Right. So there were surprises that came out in the 2 deep. Lincoln Riley knows that he has got a returning Heisman Trophy winner. He hasn't had that before. That is like gold. He's got something that nobody has. And what does he do? He pulls out all stops. I'm bringing on Cliff. Crazy.
Got it. All right.
Jay Wall.
So, man, I have a two-way tie for each offense and defense, but
we going ties?
I won't go there.
Okay. Right.
But in my mind, all four have the potential.
Okay.
So I'll just do my primary, and then just so everyone knows, my honorable mentions. How about that? So on offense, Marshawn Lloyd. Marshawn Lloyd could rush for 1,000 yards this season. Splitting carries. That's just because I think our offense is going to soften, our passing game is going to soften up the secondary, and defense is so much that those lanes are going to be huge. That's what I believe. On defense, Jamel Muhammad. He may lead the conference in sack, forced fumbles, as well as defensive individual turnovers. I think that he understands the psychology of quarterbacks, and I believe that he's primed in this conference to really be an explosive edge rusher. I really just do. Now, you
kind of stole that, but I'll get it.
So you should have let me go first, brother. Should have let me go first. All right. And so my other two, I think Dorian Singer is going to snap. I think he's flying under the radar, but with this quarterback and with this offensive scheme, I think he's going to be a nightmare for the country, and he could be a Biletnikoff finalist. And then my other defensive player, man.
Yeah.
Do I dare say it?
Man,
Eric Gentry, bro. Eric Gentry. He's finished and healthy.
Okay, there you go.
Feel everybody. He's ready. That's my dude. Y'all need to get rid of that angry giraffe stuff. Stop.
Yeah.
That guy, he's a specimen. He's a different type of thing. He's a different breed. Eric Gentry is going to shock the country again.
Man, you guys got some great picks. I
think I should have went first. And a Buckus finalist.
Let's hear yours, James. Let's hear yours.
I think I should have went first, man, because you guys, that's kind of jacked up. But you know, But look, here's what I'm gonna do, man. And I'm serious about this because I studied these guys' film before they came in. I got a couple of freshmen that I got to talk about and deal with. And because they have the or by their name, or that or means you're right there in the mix. And I'm gonna go with, and I've seen what this guy can do, stand at 6'5", 240. I think Braylon Shelby. I think once he touches the field and once he gets on the field, I think it's the rotation is going to continue. But I think he is a special player, man. And I just seen him play in high school. I kind of think Elijah Hughes is that way too. Is the fact that he's even on the depth chart. But I can pick a lot of these guys, man. I can go with Christian Pierce as well. But Braylon Shelby's probably going to be my number one candidate. And offensively, I'm gonna do something that's kind of unorthodox for me because I usually go with the more skilled position player. But I'm gonna say Alani Noah, given the fact that the coaches are talking about him, how violent he is. I'm hearing players talk about him. I'm really, I just think he got a nastiness that's kind of unusual about him. That's different. And I think he's right there battling a big guy like Emmanuel Pregna. I think, man, how do you, and I think Elijah Page, by the way, is right there too on the brink of it. So those two guys, it's easy to pick a skill guy in my position. I don't want to, but I got to talk about the big uglies now because sometimes they get lost in the sauce. But I think those two freshmen, Elijah Page and Eleni Noah, could possibly be two offensive breakout players, man.
I love that. I love that.
Look at the size on Elijah Page. He seems like the kind of guy that's nasty. I mean,
I really love those choices, man.
They're freshmen. Yeah. That's the beautiful thing. They're freshmen. You got Elijah Page at 6'7", 310.
Right.
And he's behind Jonah Monheim, who's 6'5", 295. And Monheim's a big guy. And yet the size on Elijah Page,
he looks ridiculous.
He's got a degree of nastiness that I'm looking forward to seeing that guy. And Eleni Noah, a great choice, USCJ. He's a road grader.
He's he's like a big Fred Matua.
Yeah.
Oh,
and you guys remember, let me say, do you guys remember, I remember when we landed him and he was a 3-star. Same thing with Brian Jackson. I did a video about him. He's a 3-star as well. But I said, you cannot look at the stars. Sometimes you look at the stars, sometimes you don't. You got to evaluate film before you just go make judgment. If you looked at Eleni Noah's film, everything that he's doing now in practice, even though we haven't seen it, he's doing it. He did it in high school. I was seeing this guy sling people like he was in WWE wrestling or something. I said, what in the world? It didn't look real. It didn't look real. And I was just saying, what is he like? Superfly Jimmy Snuka, man? I mean, he looked incredible. And so, I was just, now it's translating to the field.
You just say Jimmy Snuka? You really did. All right.
It's translating to the field now. So, I think this freshman class is going to go down as the most underrated class of all time. I mean, these guys.
Class.
It's seriously, like, this class is going to carry us through the first part of the Big Ten, and people going to realize that they're going to look back and say, wow, this class was Lincoln Riley, Alex Grinch. These guys did a great, great job, man. And I know we got about
first class, just like Coach Carroll's first class.
Absolutely. And you can kind of see the same type of similarities, though, right?
We could definitely talk about that another time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We got about 3 minutes. We want to get anybody else had anything that they before we leave out because that's pretty much it. We're not gonna deal with the toughest games, man. We'll come on. We're gonna make this a regular thing. We gonna periodically come on with each other, man, and just kind of fellowship with each other, man. I appreciate Rick. Of course, Jaywalk is a regular. He's on here all the time. But look, Rick, before we tap out of here, I know Jaywalk, you gotta get to it. Anything you had to say, man, before we make it out of here? We got about 3 minutes.
Okay, real quick. I want to share one other thing I saw from the depth chart that I want to see. I'm just saying, hey, it's a possibility. If you look at how much depth we have at wide receiver, it's crazy, 10, 11 guys.
Right.
And look at tight ends. We've got Lake McCree, we got Jude Wolf, and we got Tabarachi. So not a very deep tight end room, and Wolf has had trouble staying healthy, and Tabarachi's just like learning the position. And you got McCree. McCree's solid. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of 4 wide receiver sets and putting in a Deuce Robinson putting him in the slot and put him on a nickel and see what's going to happen there.
Yeah, that worked out for him.
Put him on a nickel. So I'm just saying that because Lincoln Riley, he's scheming. I want to see that. I think that's where am I wrong, guys? What do you think?
No, I like that. I'd like that. Him and Jacoby Lane both of those guys are just they're outstanding size-wise. I mean, they create their catch radius is crazy.
Yeah. That level of thinking is why I'm wearing the Rose shirt. I promise you guys, this is a foreshadowing. It's in my heart that I believe we'll be playing in the semifinals in the Rose Bowl,
right?
Being undefeated, a top ranked seed before we end up in the national championship game to finish our national championship run, being 15-0 undefeated season this year. I'm speaking on it. I'm calling it. You see it first right here. August 25th, 2003, we're going to the Rose Bowl and winning the national championship this season.
And listen, we didn't get a chance to really touch on San Jose State, but they are. You guys know I did a video about them. We facing the athletic quarterback.
We gotta wait for Tim for that. We couldn't leave it. Sauce, but Tim, we held it down for you.
We held it down, man. We held it down, and look, it's go time tomorrow, man. And look, until later on, we are right at an hour. Until later on, listen, everybody stay blessed. Rick, Jaywalk, we appreciate you guys tapping in. Let me get out of here. Until tomorrow, you guys already know I have an instant reaction like I did last year. after the game, I might even come do a pep rally tomorrow morning. I'll see how I feel. I'm going to go get a workout in and see how I feel after that. But anyway, man, listen, everybody stay blessed, man. J-Walk, hey, man, I might not be able to sleep tonight. We'll see how this works out.
Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it. This is going to be a great year.
What if we wake up real early tomorrow?
J-Walk, I love those.
Hey, man, hey, I can do it. Rick, did you hear J-Walk?
Hey, let's wake up super early and do a San Jose pregame show.
Hey, I'm on.
Good.
I'm on. Are you both going to the game tomorrow? You going to the game?
No, I'm not. But I can get up early and make it happen. You guys just let me know. We'll announce it right now to these guys. That way Tim could be a part of this football party.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to talk about San Jose State without Tim.
And we'll
text me, J-Walk, tomorrow at the game.
All right, I will do.
All right, buddy.
Hey, guys, I got to jam out.
All right, man.
Go break some necks and cash some checks.
Fight on, everybody.
Fight on, guys. Much love.